Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard is a new movie directed by Patrick Hughes. He's returning from directing the first movie, and this film has an amazing cast. Ryan Reynolds, Samuel L. Jackson, Salma Hayek, Antonio Banderas, Frank Grillo, and Morgan Freeman. And the world's most lethal odd couple returns, Michael Bryce and Darius Kincaid. Michael Bryce, who's being played by Ryan Reynolds, is forced back to action as an unlicensed bodyguard when Darius' international con artist's wife brings him along for a mission to rescue Darius Kincaid, who was kidnapped from a new unknown threat. And we have the movie Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. I don't remember the events that happened in the first movie. I reviewed the first movie on my channel like a few years back, and I don't quite remember what rating I gave it. I think I gave it like an average rating or a welcome rating. Well, things of that movie, I talked about that the best thing about that movie was the chemistry. And going to this movie, you're going to get the same thing, but even more. Like the band, like Darius Kincaid and Michael Bryce, Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson, they both shined. Ryan Reynolds, Samuel L. Jackson were great, but I feel like Salma Hayek was had the best performance. Like her character, she returns in this movie as an international con artist, and she has a bigger role from the first movie. I think the first movie she had like a substantial role, but in this one her role is much bigger and elevated, and her character is over the top, ruthless, maniacal, funny. The dialogue was definitely witty from a writing standpoint. And I found myself laughing at times every time Salma Hayek was on screen, like over the top, gut busting laughing. Like the jokes in this movie worked, and it was astonishing to find myself laughing consistently along that first act. And the performances from Michael Bryce, Ryan Reynolds, and tell you the truth, Ryan Reynolds was practically playing himself. And Ryan Reynolds is good of delivering the over the top, the witty, and also he's good at improv as well. So I don't know if he used some improv, but it does seem like it. He's practically playing himself. And throughout this movie, Samuel L. Jackson was even funnier in this movie than he was in the first movie. But outside of those three characters, so what holds this movie together is the chemistry and the banter. But outside of those three characters, that's where some of the movie just falls flat. Now, this movie is a comedy and a / action film. And as for the flaws with this film, like if you look at it from action standpoint, it's not a good action movie when it comes to certain scene transitions and editing, especially revolving around the fight sequences. It does seem noticeable times where the choreography is not as fluid, but outside the action sequences, the movie was funny. The movie has a job to do, is just to make you laugh, and the movie does its job, despite not having a elevated plot, despite having one-dimensional characters outside the main trio, which is Salma Hayek, Samuel L. Jackson, and Ryan Reynolds. Antonio Banderas, he plays the main villain in this movie, and he was practically a villain just because he was a villain. And there's this MacGuffin that they try to look for that he's really trying to strive towards, and this plot is a cliche, and the MacGuffin they're looking for is a cliche as well. It almost had a similar plot to G.I. Joe, the first movie. Still, Antonio Banderas' character was funny, and he had some witty dialogue. There was moments in this movie where the film falls flat, like going on to that second act where the film wasn't as funny as it was in the first film, when I just found myself a little bit bored a little bit. And I was thinking to myself, when are they going to pick this up? Another thing with this movie is the film had like a small attempts at delivering the emotional scenes, because there's some character development with Ryan Reynolds' character. Like the small thing I noticed, that he always wears a seatbelt in almost everything he rides in. And I noticed it in the first movie, I noticed it in this movie, and there is a reason why he always wears a seatbelt in every single ride, and they developed this character. And I thought they could have used that as an emotional moment for Ryan Reynolds' character, but they end up using it as a joke. And it just took away the emotional development, and it just kind of took away that finality towards it, where I felt like if it stayed in the film and they didn't have the joke, I would get emotionally connected even more to Ryan Reynolds' character. So Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard is a film that you will get some good laughter from. It has some great chemistry with the three main cast, but outside of those three, the other characters are kind of flat from a writing standpoint, but the film does its job. It makes you laugh, but not on a consistent basis when it comes to that second act. But you will find yourself laughing in the third act, and the ending has a huge chuckle. So I'm going to have to give Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard a Val Kilmer Batman. This is a guilty pleasure. This is not really a good movie. But outside of that, what holds this movie together is Ryan Reynolds, Samuel Jackson, and Salma Hayek. And that's my review of Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. So what are your thoughts? Have you seen Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard? What are your thoughts? Comment below. Let's talk about it, and I'll see you guys in my next review. And if you like everything you see and you agree, subscribe to my channel and join me in the Batman family. I'll have more Batman-tastic reviews in the way. You have been warned. Till then, ciao.